This video is brought to you by CWD's MS300 Liquid Liner.
So in here we've got the MS300 Liquid Liner. I'll show you what to do. Oh, there you go then guys. That's as much as I can do today because I needed a corner to get out. Hey up pond lovers, so today I finished work a bit early. I'm going to crack on and try and get this lined. I'm probably only going to be able to get half of it done today because the wind is in. If I do all of it, I'm not going to be able to step out of the pond and without ruining it and getting me coated in it. So I'm going to do one half of the pond first, let it dry and climb in and do the other half. We are expecting thunderstorms at some point this afternoon, so I'm just going to get on, crack in, get in, clean it, crack on, get it done. So this is the MS300 Liquid Liner. It got a bit delayed. I think the box broke because they're relatively heavy, and DPD have repackaged it kindly and then continue sending it out to me. But let's get in there and have a look. So in here we've got the MS300 Liquid Liner. It comes in your foil sausages, and Carl sent me a load of extra nozzles for it. Now I've got a new sausage gun because this is not something I normally use, these foil liner type things, so got a new sausage gun for it. Looked at a few videos on how to use it well, and yeah, get in, clean it, let's crack on. So I've given this side and this whole wall a good scrub with just some warm soapy water, as you can see there. What I'm going to do is dry it off and then give it a very quick wipe with some isopropyl alcohol stuff. This stuff, just so there's no grease and dirt left on it, and then the bond should be uber fantastic. But as you can hear, it has just started raining, so I will see how far I can get. I've blocked me in a little bit with the remaining sheet of polycarbonate I've got, and yeah, we'll just see how I get on. Although it didn't look that dirty, that's what just dried off the wall. So that's the wall now, nice clean and shiny again and dry. Give it a quick rub with some isopropyl alcohol, and then I'll make a start. So yeah, now that's all clean and pretty ready to go. Surprising how much dirt comes off considering it was cleaned and then filled up. And that was about it. Next job, from what I've seen and read about this MS300 Liquid Liner, it's best to use one tube at a time and then smooth all that out and then move on to your next tube, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm going to try, and if I find an easier way I will tell you. The tools that I'm going to try it with, let me show you. So you've got your standard trowel for smoothing out whatever, everything. I've got an old scraper that might give a go, but I think the thing that I might find the easiest, I don't know yet because I've not tried it, is these plastic wall scrapers, if it'll focus. There we go. What I use these for, see I've cleaned that side, but yeah, what I use these for is when there's large holes in the wall, not just screw holes but slightly larger holes, I use that to put in the old polyfiller, and they work really well on that. So I don't know if they're going to be a bit too weak for this, but I thought I got two of them, so I'll give it a go. But the weather isn't getting any better, unfortunately it is starting to get worse, so I'm going to start in this corner and do them two walls, hopefully see how we get on. And if it starts raining even more, I might just leave it with those two walls for today. I'm going to crack open this first tube, make a start, and let you know how I get on, and then once I know what I'm doing I'll show you what to do. Right guys, so where am I up to and what have I learned? First off, don't buy cheap tools. I bought one that's really cheap just because this is might be the only time I ever use it. My sausage gun broke on tube 1. Didn't even get through a whole tube of MS300 Liquid Liner. I thought maybe I can push it through. That's too much effort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit it here. I did manage to get 2 tubes out, but it caused me a lot of pain trying to do so. So I'm going to call it a day here. Not for you guys, this video will continue when I get me a new sausage gun. But very quickly, let me spin you around and show you what I've learned. So firstly, don't buy cheap sausage guns. That snapped off this bit, and now my sausage gun don't work. I can't really pull this bit back out, and it's a nightmare. So yeah, I've only just had that delivered, so I might contact the seller, because that was an eBay jobby, and see what I can do. You never know. But what have I learned? Well, I'm as far as here, as you can see. That goes round there, all the way up there, and almost got to the end of that wall. That's the patch that I put on before, but that's where it ends now, and that's straight all the way down. Well, straight as you can trowel it anyway. But yeah, it actually goes on a lot easier than I was expecting. So plus number 1, quite easy to apply. I think with a bit of practice, anyone can do it, and it's something you can go back over and correct later, because if you'd have seen the state of this section, which is the bit I started on to begin with, it was an absolute mess. But by the time I got to the middle of this section, I was starting to get the hang of it, so went back over that section, and it doesn't look too bad now, apart from that little bit in the corner, but it's different levels, so it was hard to trowel in. Easy to apply. As I say, with a bit of practice. I am absolutely useless with a trowel, by the way, guys. Absolutely useless. I don't tackle plastering jobs for my customers ever, because I am useless with a trowel. So if I can do this, I'm pretty sure anybody can. But the way I've done it, applied it obviously with a sausage gun and spread it out as much as I can with that. Then I didn't get on with my yellow thing, my plastic scraper, so went to the trowel, found the trowel a lot easier. So what I was doing is, there's a little lump there anyway, is pushing it in with this side with a little bit of pressure to get it into all the nooks, crannies, lumps and bumps, and to get it basically to have a good adhesion. And I will show you how I do it when I get a new sausage gun. But yeah, so push it in with a bit of pressure that way. Once you've done that, and you've gone over it, spread it all out as much as you can, just lightly, very lightly, go back over it with either end, doesn't really matter, but just very lightly, you know, with a ever so light touch, and that removes an awful lot of the troweling lines. You're never going to get them perfect with this stuff, not unless you are brilliant with a trowel, which I am not. But all I do, very light, no pressure at all, just going over, so you've got a big line and like a drip and dribble there. So very gently, just push it in, and that's what I've been doing. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I tell you what, the way this thing sticks to the wall and the way it covers, I'm quite happy. And I think once I've gone round the whole thing, there ain't no way this stuff is going to leak. I mean, whatever was leaking previously is obviously only a tiny little hole and tiny little leak. So as long as I manage to get that wherever it is, somewhere, and close off that, then I think I'm going to be good. But yeah, it's not going to look as pretty as a nice smooth fiberglass finish. Yeah, it'll do. It's something people can do DIY at home without fretting. Each tube, I reckon you got, depending on the temperature, but I reckon you got between 20 minutes and half an hour to keep playing with it. I mean, there's still bits I can smooth around on the very first one I did, and that was about 45 minutes ago. And yeah, it goes quite far when you're using pressure to start off with. As I say, spread it out, and once you've spread it out and there's no more silicone you can scrape about, then start smoothing it off. As you're smoothing it off, you will pick up a bit extra sealant, and then you can keep just edging along a little bit further. Once you've smoothed it off and you're happy with it, then get your next tube out and start on your next one. But this stuff does bond quite well to itself, so I'm going to have to call it a day here and jump on eBay and either speak to the seller, see if I can get him to send me out a new one. If not, I will have to bite the bullet and order another one. This one was about 12 quid. There are some decent ones out there for around 25 quid. So I'd recommend maybe if you're doing it yourself, having a look at the more decent ones. I will snap back to you when it arrives and I'll show you exactly how I do it. So really quick, before I snap back to you when my new gun arrives, let's talk cleanup. Now we all know MS300, CT1, any of the sealants used on ponds is an absolute bugger to get off you. So for cleaning up skin and tools, big wipes are where they're at. I don't know what they've got within them, but I mean, as a for instance, that finger is absolutely caked in it. Quick scrub with a big wipe, and other than the bit under my nails that you can't really get to, nice and clean. So that for your skin is ideal. Now I'm going to clean my hands up and snap back to you and show you how to clean your tools once you've finished, so you can use them again. So now my hands are relatively clean again, just about. It's yeah, one other good thing about these that I wasn't expecting, I've got a few cuts from jobs I've done this week for people, and I was expecting it to sting, but it didn't, so bonus. Anyway, onto the tool. Next is the scraper that I use. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to reuse this yellow scraper to start off with and just get the majority again off like that, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that bit later. But again, using the kitchen roll first, just going to rub over the whole thing and just try and get all the big lumps and bumps off, because these big wipes are great, but they don't soak up the sealant, they push it around. So you want to remove as much as you can do. So all the big lumps are off. It's now just all streaky. Again, using the same big wipe as I used a minute ago. That's actually a speck of rust. Had this trowel a while. But as you can see, look at that. These are fantastic. So I'm going to get the rest of the tool cleaned up and snap back to you again. Who would have thought, eh? That is literally just rust spots. But who would have thought after dipping a tool in MS300 it would be reusable? But not a drip of MS300 left on that. Even the handle's now nice and clean again, so next time I use it I won't get dirty. And lastly was the yellow scraper. I do recommend having two things. When you're troweling, you're going to get obviously it all over there, and you can sort of scrape it off, dab it on the front and spread it around a bit more. So even if you haven't got one of these, I recommend, as well as a trowel, maybe getting little one of them, little paint scraper type thing, just to scrape the sealant around. I think you'll find it a lot easier. I certainly did. So again, using my bit of kitchen roll, take off the majority. That ain't gonna work. Old manky one to start off with. See if I can get some of it off before it well and truly sets. I'll use my slightly cleaner one just to wipe it all off, basically. Voila. You can spend more time and use an extra wipe or two if you want to get it absolutely perfect, but as long as it's reusable, I'm not too fussed. So yeah, I'm going to go get out of the rain, order a new one of these sausage guns. So I will snap back to you all once it's arrived. Right then guys, well the new gun has arrived, not broken. I've just ordered another really cheap one, £12.50 on the Biohome. So let's show you exactly how to do this. So tools you will need: silicone gun for sausage silicone packets. You will need, best tool I found to do it is a trowel, square trowel, and and have an extra scraper to hand. Whether you have a plastic one or a metal one, doesn't matter, but have one extra scraper to hand. Have a knife, because you're going to need to cut your nozzles and your foil. I'd recommend getting them, you don't have to, but they really do clean up this MS300, so if you get it somewhere you shouldn't, or on your hands or whatever, they're pretty darn good, as you've seen many a times before. You don't necessarily need this. Warm soapy water will do the job, but I've just been round and given the pond another quick clean because it is 4 days later, and that just removes all dirt, grease, grime from the walls, ready to go. And then lastly, a big old stack of MS300 Liquid Liner. So as I was saying, the pond's all been cleaned, ready to go. I did do warm soapy water and then the isopropyl alcohol. Is it me, or I just love the smell of that? What I'm going to do now, little bit of advice. It is a little bit breezy today, but do try and do this on a non-windy day, because all these bits of fluff and things are flying all over the place, and similar to fiberglass, it's going to land on it, it's going to stick in it. Doesn't make too much of a difference because it's not going to be sharp like fiberglass is when it dries. You'll just be able to see it. I'll show you a couple of examples on mine. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that there. Something landed on it, and it's now a bit, but you can smooth it over. Not too many, but even though I've literally just vacuumed cleaned the pond, there's now other little bits in there, so when I get to the floor I have to do that as we go. But what I'm going to do now is set the camera up and show you exactly what I'm doing. So first job you're going to need to do is cut the tip off your nozzle. I've cut about that much off, nearly an inch in total, at a very slight angle. Don't need it massively wide, but that is way too thin. Apologise if you can hear any building work in the background. My neighbour is doing some building work in their garden. But yeah, with your sausage, you don't need to chop the whole top off, I've found out. Literally just put a big old hole in it. You are going to get your blade covered in MS300, so either use an old blade or one you can replace the blades quite easily. Once you've got a big old slit in the top of that, pull your nozzle back, slide your tube in and screw your nozzle on, just like that. Right, so what you're then going to do is pick a starting point, pick a direction, and that's quite important I've found whilst doing this. Pick a direction. Obviously this small gap I'm going to be going straight down or straight up, depending on how I feel. So once you've picked your direction, put the sealant in the direction that you're going to be scraping or smoothing, however you want to call it. Nice big thick bead. I'm also going to put a bead in the corner. Probably continue going down as well. But yeah, I've found this does make quite a difference. If you go side to side and then start scraping up and down, it just doesn't work as easy. So pick the direction you go in. Yeah, just while I'm doing this, guys, if you are going to give this a go, and you do order some liquid liner from CWD, the best way to estimate it, from what I've used and found so far, you're going to want one tube per 1 metre squared. But I would over order, because if it's obviously the first time you've ever done it, that's that tube all gone. If it's the first time you've ever done it, then you might use a little bit more than you necessarily need to. Right, so what we do now, grabs your trowel, we're going to get down on the floor, and then just start running it up and down. And you're going to go over this a fair few times. Oh, I found it easy to do so. I hope you can all see that, I'm not in the way. this is what I do. Just literally just keep smoothing, moving it around, spread it out, get full coverage. And that is why you want big wipes. Or wear gloves, but either way I would still recommend getting some, because this stuff gets there's quite a few big lumps and bumps. If you've got big lumps and bumps, obviously it makes it a lot more difficult to spread. But yeah, what I've found you're looking for is about 3 mil thick. You can go thicker, you can go thinner if you wanted, technically, as long as you've got absolute full coverage. Around 3 mil thick is a good thickness. Corners are the hardest, obviously. Look a bit from over here. Just take your time. There is absolutely no rush with this stuff. It stays pliable for quite a while. When I said yesterday about half an hour, I think you got a bit longer than that, because after I finished filming I did go back over a couple of little spots that I wasn't perfectly happy with. Yeah, depends. I suppose it's temperature dependent as well. If it's really hot, it might set quicker, I don't know. Normal MS300 sets quicker in hotter weather, so I would assume this stuff does too. So I'm going to leave that as it is for now, and then I'll go back over it once I've finished the rest of the spreading out of the tube that I've just put out. As I say, do it one tube at a time. As you can see, I'm only using the edge of the trowel. I have found that, while spreading it out, to be the easiest way. And then when you're onto the finishing stage and you just want to smooth it all, then I'll use the other edge, because you get obviously less lines in it then. It will spread out a bit further than where I've put the lines. As I said, there's about 1 metre squared. I'm just getting the full coverage first, and then I'll move it about even more. Guys, well, I hope that's helped some of you. As I say, that's how I've been doing it, and it's working quite well. I've got a few lines to smooth out, but as I say, it's a bit easier to smooth out the last few lines as it starts to get a bit harder. But yeah, so obviously I've gone from here about 10 centimetres that way and about 55-60 that way, and it's 1.4 metres deep. So I say I am getting just over 1 metre squared, just by a teeny tiny bit. But yeah, I would recommend maybe every 6 or 7 tubes buy one extra one, just to make sure. You're better off having a couple left over at the end of the job that you can use later on or for repairs or whatever, than being 1 or 2 short. But I'm getting absolutely caked in MS300 on all hands and fingers. So what I'm going to do is get the bit finished that I'm going to do today. I'm getting the rest of this back wall finished, that wall finished, that wall finished, because that stops there in the middle of the window, and then I will get half, not sure which, probably this half of the floor done. Reason being is this is quite a tall pond. As I say, it's just over 1.4 metres deep. It's my boob height, basically, nipple height, and yeah, there's no way I can reach said floor by hanging over the pond. So because of that, I'm going to do half the floor, or as much as I can, without kneeling in the stuff, and then let it go off, climb back in and do the other half, because it seems to join up quite well as long as it's all clean and tidy, ready to go. So I'll get it finished and snap back to you again. Well, there you go then, guys. That's as much as I can do today because I needed a corner to get out. But the floor, as you can see, is a bit of a mess. Unfortunately, it was so uneven. I had to use I think 3 or 4 tubes just on that bit of the floor alone, bearing in mind it's only 1 metre by 1.4 metre. Technically that should have only been a tube and a bit, but yep, it's watertight at least. A bit lumpy and bumpy, but I think what I might do is just give it a very quick going over again once it's set and dry, see if I can make it look a bit prettier. But on the other walls, I'm pretty happy with that. When you've got the room to manoeuvre, I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, the walls are actually pretty darn flat, pretty darn straight. I'm pretty happy. So yeah, walls are good, just the floor maybe needs a bit of neatening up if I can. But yeah, bit of a blodge over there. But as I say, unfortunately, where the floor was literally like up, down, up, down, up, down, big potholes everywhere. Obviously, when you're troweling it, any dip in the floor like those, obviously it takes more sealant to fill up. Some spots in there, I'd say it's about 8mm to a centimetre thick, which is why it's a bit bloopy and gloopy. Whereas these walls, that one was not fantastic, but these two walls were pretty straight, and that's probably why I've done a slightly better job on it. The bit you've all been waiting for, what do I think of the stuff? Well, is it better than fiberglass? No. Could it be better than fiberglass? No, I think fiberglass will always be the #1 pond liner here in the UK. But what do I like about the MS300 Liquid Liner? One, I think anyone can do it. Absolutely anyone. I mean, there's barely any smell to it, so it doesn't choke you out like fiberglass does. Whether you're great with a trowel or not, as you can see, I'm not. I've managed to get it done. The only thing that you would need to make sure is that you have a relatively smooth surface. If you've got a curved type pond, there'd need to be quite big curves and not, you know, lumpy and bumpy, sort of nice smooth curves that you can get a trowel into without it cornering out. But yeah, I think anyone can do it. You do pick it up and get better after the first tube or two. I certainly did anyway. Because anyone can do it, it works out an awful lot cheaper than having a pond fiberglass, an awful lot cheaper. I mean, it was 400 quid to fiberglass the pond, and the MS300, I used 2 tubes the other day, and I've used today 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's still 1 in there, 8. So that's 9 that I've used so far, and obviously I'm going to need another one to fill that gap, and then I might use 1 more just to see if I can neaten up the floor a little bit. So 10. So I actually miscounted. There's actually 9 tubes that I've used today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is an empty tube, it just pulled out funny. Yeah, so it was actually 11 tubes I've used so far, and I need 1 more. So that's 12 total, 240. So like I said before, you're looking at about 1 metre, 1 square metre per tube coverage wise, because that pond is 9.5 square metres of wall and floor space, and I've currently used 9. I need to use another one, possibly another one. So yeah, as I say, I reckon for beginners, every 7 tubes you buy 1 extra one, and then you won't fall short. And then, as I say, you've always got a spare or 2 for repairs. But 10 of them, theoretically I would finish it in 10, at roughly 20 quid a pop, 200 quid.
240.
So if you do it yourself, it would work out half the price of fiberglass. And if you've got a smooth and concreted pond, I do highly recommend it. As I say, anyone can do it. It is a very messy job. I mean, I have got it all over my clothes, it's under my arm, it's everywhere. Luckily I didn't bash my head into it today, which I was expecting, normally do. But yeah, I do recommend it if you've got a nice straight smooth pond. If your pond is extremely uneven and lots of odd shapes, probably not. Fiberglass may be a better option, but I'm pretty happy with how it's gone so far. I hope this video has found some of you well and have been of interest to you. Obviously these guys, as you can see behind me, are growing like mad, always bloody hungry. One other thing is, I actually like it that much. I had in my head that if the MS300 Liquid Liner didn't work, and I've always got the option of dropping in a Boxweld liner and just gluing it around the window and around the returns and whatnot, which would work an absolute treat, especially if you sealed it with MS300. So I had that as an option, but I'm pretty confident with this stuff that if it did start leaking again, it's my fault, not the MS300's fault. So I would probably give it another quick light coat of the MS300 again, because I quite like it. It's certainly a learning curve for me. On that note, guys, thanks all for watching. Like the video if you haven't already, and we'll catch you all on the next one.